Welcome to episode 7 in the Throwback series, where I revisit messages that I had not included in any of my books. My name is Candace Sanderson. I want to welcome you. I ended the last episode by sharing part of a message from October 24th, 2013. I want to complete that message in today's episode. When we left off, we had a discussion about communication with those on the other side. The messenger stated that the biggest change with those who have passed is that they are now existing with only an energy body. And as our physical body transforms and evolves into this energy body when we pass, we gain new skills. The messengers brought in the concept of our brains acting like a radio tuner and how we can learn to fine tune to receive different frequencies. So let's pick up here with the next paragraph where the messengers talk about the energy connections during communication. It is all a matter of fine tuning. When people communicate, there is an exchange of energy, which is more important than the exchange of words. Humans are aware of nonverbal communication in the form of body language when two persons communicate. Humans say, quote, actions speak louder than words. Body language is a type of communication that goes beyond the sharing of your words. It is not always subtle. This was a replay of older information. Communication between people that involves more than just that exchange of words that are then translated into ideas. It's more than just the nonverbal communication, their body language, but that is a good starting point. It's a good foundation for understanding the non-physical aspects of communication. Reading body language is a skill that we learn early on. Remember as a kid how your mom would just give you that look and you knew exactly what that meant. It's as if you were reading her mind. But you didn't need words. That look, well, it said it all. As we get older, we start to recognize small things like shifty eye movements, what direction someone tilts their head. We notice when they drop eye contact. We look at the rate they blink their eyes. We listen to the tone of their voice. But once you realize you can read the nonverbal, like body language, you start looking for those subtle and sometimes not so subtle cues. The message continues and it drills down farther into these subtleties and nuances. This goes beyond reading just body language. On an even more important yet less discernible level is the energy communication between humans that are engaged in conversation. On one level, this is understood, for humans will use the phrase on the same wavelength to indicate their energy fields are oscillating together. Two people can have a conversation and hear with their ears the same information, yet leave with a totally different perspective on what was said. This dissonance is because their two energy bodies are not vibrating in sync at the same levels. We're taking a deeper dive, moving away from the nonverbal communications involved with body language, and we step into, quote, more important yet less discernible communications, to use the messenger's words. The messengers are talking about energy vibrations, patterns, and frequencies. How many times have you used phrases like being on the same wavelength with someone? I now had to look at those offhanded remarks and view them in a more concrete manner. If I'm on the same wavelength as someone else, we literally match. We share the same vibrations, the same energy patterns. We've all experienced these connections with others. We're on the same page, we're in sync. But I didn't know it was because of those magical connections within the non-physical realms. We can't see it, but we can feel it when it occurs. There's a pattern that you slide into. You're in sync with the other person. You operate as one. You both blurt the same thing out at the same time, matching word by word. It's like you and the other person are parts of this same one mind. You're both like cogs in a machine, and they're just working in perfect harmony. Now, let's think about this. Sometimes it's easier to recognize this in sync position by observing just the opposite. How do you feel when your energy fields do not match with someone? That's often easier to perceive. You experience a dissonance. And for me, it feels as strong as fingernails on a chalkboard. It just sends shivers down my spine. And that's a way that's like not so good. But this October 24th, 2013 message occurred early on in my channeling. I had been receiving messages just for under 2 months, and this was a lesson that would be repeated time and time again. It was introducing me to the importance of energy and seeing everything in terms of energy, frequencies, and vibrations. The messengers were showing me the subtleties of communication. I had experienced both the in sync and the out of sync experiences we all have, but I had not considered that it was the underlying energy patterns that produced those experiences. Once I understood that, I became empowered. I realized I could control them. If I was on the same page as someone, or if I was talking to someone and I needed to be on the same page, but wasn't, I could start using some of the tools that I've learned. I hadn't learned them at this point, but I did later. I learned later that I could take a deep breath and I could bring my thoughts, which is my energy, from my headspace where I was often busy analyzing the conversation. That's that psychologist in me. And I'd bring those thoughts to my heart. And then I would allow my heart, through what I later learned was the emotional guidance system, to connect with the other person through visualization or whatever works for you. I would start connecting with this person on a deeper level than before. This put us, our energy fields, in sync. And from that point on, we were on the same page. We were like two minds working as one. Everything became more productive. We truly understood what the other was proposing. It became a team effort, and we were working toward the very same one goal. But the beauty about this was learning that I could control the frequencies. I could change the energy patterns of the communication in order to put us in sync. So, this message about the energy of communication, about being on the same wavelength with another person, well, that message finally got through to me. But this was one of my first introductions to that concept. This is my life now. I view the world through the lens of energy. And the messengers have told me about this formula. Energy follows thought, and action follows energy. So we've got thought, energy, action. It's our thoughts that produce energy. And those energy vibrations produce the action. If we have positive thoughts and positive intentions, like a magnet, we bring in those same energy patterns toward us, those same frequencies. As we embrace this ever increasing field of energy, we find ourselves uplifted. We can become more than our physical bodies. We can expand into a beautiful field of energy. We open ourselves at that point to connect with angels and guides. It's the action part of the formula, connecting with like vibrations. So let's go back to the message. There's one more paragraph. We can observe when conversations take place, and we can determine whether communication is successful by noticing the energy fields of the conversationalists. We can affect changes in communication by altering the energy patterns between the two in conversation. This is something that humans can learn to do. Alter the energy state between two entities, thus allowing true communication to take place. The new energy coming forth from our sister star will allow humans on Mother Earth to be able to achieve this feat. Now, this paragraph is about the empowerment statement that I just talked about, altering the energy patterns between two in conversation. But we can also learn to observe the energy connection between people as a bystander. Let me share an example. My opening to the world of energy occurred before my retirement as a psychologist in 2018. My life was changing, but I couldn't openly share my experiences. But I could use my new skill set. For example, now and then I'd be called into a meeting to help resolve some sort of conflict, whether it was an issue between a parent and a student, a parent and a teacher, or a student and a teacher. These meetings were often very stressful for everyone involved because coming to the table, someone felt angry or felt hurt or both. I would often be the first person in the meeting space, and that's by design. As each person entered the room, I would use my heart energy to connect with them individually. I would bring in positive energy to surround everyone in the room. And if tempers would flare, I would bring in waves of gratitude and happiness to help counteract anything that was negative, any of that low-lying energy. This is the type of empowerment the messengers are talking about. Once you understand the energy vibrations of communication, you can gently bring those frequencies more in alignment with others. Now, let's look at the last sentence of this message. It says, the new energy coming forth from our sister star will allow humans on Mother Earth to be able to achieve this feat. This October 24th, 2013 message was part of a series of messages from star beings, for lack of a better word. Many of these messages made up chapter 5 in the book, this first book, Cosmic Contacts. This particular message was part of the Throwback series, which means I didn't use it in either of the books. But less than a week before, the messengers had told me about new rays that our cosmic counterparts were giving their sister star, our sun, and that these new rays would help in Earth's transition to higher vibrational frequencies. It was to help jumpstart an evolutionary process for Earth and us. This message refers to those new incoming messages. These are the energy patterns that will help in Earth's evolution. And now they're offering specific ways in which these changed energy patterns will affect us as humans. The messengers are saying that we will be able to change energy patterns in the future. As I read this now in 2022, I realize I have learned to do just that. And it wasn't until many months, or maybe it was years later, that's precisely what occurred. Well, that's it for the day. If you enjoyed the experience, feel free to give it a thumbs up. And remember, one thing this message is trying to show us is that we are all energy beings, and we have a choice on how we use our energy, because how we use our energy field is what will define us. So make a concerted effort to bring in higher vibrational frequencies of kindness, of love, of compassion. It's so important. Be thoughtful and be caring. So until next time,